Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're back with another video, starting here from another familiar location. I don't even know how many videos I've started off over here, but I know at least my first video I made started out here. I think, right? Yeah, my first one. I think a few others. I don't know, it's been a while. Anyways, today's topic, I was talking to one of my buddies the other day, and he was basically just kind of asking me, like, you know, if he should get a bike. And so I was giving him a few reasons as to why I think it'd be good. And after thinking about it for a bit, I was like, you know what? I could probably make a video out of this, talking about reasons why you should get one. I mean, you know, a million different people have videos on it already, but I thought, why not give my own, like, personal take on why I think people should get one. And it's not for everybody, keep in mind. This is really only just if you're thinking about it. Because if you've never thought about it before... Oh, I'm good. Thank you. But that's what I love about this town, man. A lot of people are still like that. So I thought I'd give my 5 reasons on why... I thought I'd give my 5 reasons on why I think people should get a bike, because these all kind of apply to my friend, and you know, to anybody else who's thinking about it, I assume they all kind of apply to you guys too. But the first reason is maintenance. Now, if you make like the Google search, like Google will tell you a lot of the time that maintenance is like bikes are less maintenance than cars. Like I made this Google search just to see what Google would say, and Google says that bikes are less maintenance than cars, and the reason for that they gave was because there's less parts on them, I guess, which makes absolutely 0 sense to me. That's not true at all. Well, I mean, that's true in terms of like bikes have less parts, but in terms of that being the reason how there could be less maintenance, that's definitely false. Less parts does not automatically mean that you do less service and maintenance on it. But, you know, I think it can really kind of depend on the bike. If it's more or less maintenance to a car, you know, the manufacturer and the type that you get are all like huge factors in that. I would say my Sportster that I have is definitely one of the models of bikes, especially cruisers, that doesn't require a lot of maintenance. And you know, the reasons for that is because most of the parts on here are kind of made to last a while. And one of the biggest factors for this bike specifically being less maintenance than your average bike is because it's belt driven, and belts don't really require that much maintenance at all, whereas the majority, if not all, sport bikes and a lot of bikes in general are all chain driven, and chain driven bikes are going to require more maintenance. It's like specifically on the chain, because you need to constantly be cleaning and lubricating the chain, which, you know, it's an easy thing to do, but it is something to take into account. It is maintenance that you have to do. But overall, my main point on maintenance is that I think maintenance is easier on bikes just because it's very small, it's compact, like the whole engine area. There's not a lot of stuff going on there, especially compared to a car. And you know, a lot of the parts are obviously smaller too. So I think that maintenance is easier on a bike, but I don't think that it's less maintenance on a bike. That's pretty cool. I don't know what that is. Well, yeah, so reason 1, maintenance is easier. Reason number 2 is going to be mileage. A lot of bikes that you're finding on the market, it's a lot easier to find a low mileage bike than it is to find a low mileage car. More specifically with like older models, and older being like 10 years plus. And the reason for that is not a lot of people daily them, whereas most people end up, you know, dailying their car that they get. So there ends up being less miles put on bikes because of that. Like, for example, my 09 Sportster that I have here, this thing has like just under 10K on it. Yeah, 9861. That's nothing compared to the average car from 2009 that you'll see. I mean, shit, my 2013 Civic has 105, and honestly, for a Civic that's 12 years old, I would consider that relatively low mileage. I mean, that's under the industry standard of mileage a year on cars. But mileage, it's a lot easier to find low mileage bikes compared to low mileage cars. And then another thing that is going to kind of factor into that too is going to be the cost. Bikes are a lot cheaper than cars, especially like the amount of like power and versatility you can get for a bike. It's going to end up being a lot more than a car. But yeah, bikes are, for obvious reasons, a lot cheaper than cars. One of the main reasons being just the fact that they're smaller, and you know, everything's a lot more compact. There's only 2 wheels instead of 4. There's a million different reasons as to why. But bikes are cheaper than cars, so it's easier to get like a nice reliable vehicle for cheaper with a car or with a bike, and also own it outright. I don't think I would ever finance a bike, and I mean, that's not how everybody feels. That's just kind of how I feel personally. Like, I wouldn't want to get like a $30,000 or $40,000 bike unless I could just pay outright for it. You know, I used to feel the same way about cars, but I do have my Civic on payments, unfortunately. I'd like to pay it off early if I can, but anyways, yeah, bikes are cheaper than cars for a bunch of different reasons, but we'll just keep it simple. They are cheaper. The cost to maintain them, depending on the model, can generally be cheaper, especially in my case. You know, a lot of the parts, because they're a lot smaller, end up being cheaper, and the labor can end up being cheaper because a lot of it's easier to do yourself. Like me personally, I've done very, very minimal maintenance on my car over the years. Cars, I've had multiple cars, but I've done a pretty minimal amount of maintenance on them myself. But I haven't taken this bike to any shops at all. I've done every single bit of maintenance that I've done on this bike. I've done it all myself. I didn't have to pay anybody to do it, which for me personally made it cheaper because I didn't pay for labor. I only paid for parts. Yeah, overall, that's pretty cool. Overall, bikes are just cheaper than cars. It's a fact. You know, there are expensive bikes out there. You know, that you could go and get like the newest like Harley Road Glide or Street Glide or whatever the hell, and it'll end up costing like a few tens of thousands of dollars. Or there's some bigger engine and like more high quality, newer like sport bikes that are also very expensive. But just in general, bikes are a lot cheaper, and especially like to just get in brand new, they end up being a lot cheaper, and that's definitely a good thing about them. On top of the fact that, like I was saying, how the mileage kind of goes into it. Part of that is because since bikes are cheaper and it's easier to get a low mileage one, that also makes it like cost beneficial, because since there's so many low mileage bikes on the market, it makes them just cheaper in general to get a low mileage one. Whereas a lot of like cheaper cars you can buy, you know, they're going to end up being like 15, 20 years old. They're going to have high mileage on them. You know, it's one of the biggest things about getting a cheap car is that generally cheap cars are going to have a bunch of miles on them. That's just a fact. That's how it is. But anyways, what was that? I think that was number 3. So number 2, or reason number 4, and by the way, these are in no specific order. These are just 5 just general reasons. Reason number 4 is going to be they're fun. It's awesome to ride a bike around, man. It feels great. I've never felt more free in my life than hopping on the old hog, cranking around town, man. You know, you get, me personally, I've always been a windows down guy when I drive around, unless it's, you know, 118 degrees out here. I love always having my windows down, getting to feel the wind whenever I'm driving around. And riding a bike is like having the entire car open. You know, it's like more than a convertible. You know, you're getting all kinds of air, and it feels great, man. Just sitting here, letting your arm fly through the wind. It just feels great. You know, and there's other reasons why it's fun too. You know, like I said, it's a lot cheaper to get like a faster bike compared to a faster car. Bike right there. And you know, you'll see some bikes, and to see how much horsepower it has, and if you don't know anything about bikes, you'll think, oh wow, like, you know, 80 horsepower, that's fucking nothing. But 80 horsepower on a bike with the power to weight ratio is a lot. So you can end up getting a bike that has a shit ton of power for a fraction of the cost that you'd buy a car with that much power. And yes, of course, you know, they're more dangerous. Like, there's also negatives to riding a bike that can also be positives. Like, dangerous, doing something dangerous is generally fun. You know, that's part of the fun. But yeah, it's a lot of fun to ride bikes around, man. Nothing can really beat the feeling. And my 5th and final reason also kind of ties into the fun aspect is the community. I wouldn't say this is a general thing, because I think it could go both ways. But me personally, I think that the bike community is a lot more inviting than the car community is. The one exception to that being the like bagger Harley bros. Generally, bagger Harley bros are kind of dicks. You know, like my uncle is one, and he's actually a good one. Like, he's a nice guy. But the community with the bigger Harleys seems to be a little bit more of like a toxic environment. And, you know, no matter what like group or community we're talking about, there's always going to be like bad apples in there. But in general, I would say the bike community, and more specifically with like sport bikes, the community is a lot more friendly and accepting compared to the car community. You know, like, they do car meets, obviously, and they do bike meets. And I don't know, I just, in my experience and everything I've seen online too, it just seems like the bike community is a lot more open, inviting, and friendly as compared to the car community. Just as like a general take, really. But yeah, the biker community is generally pretty friendly and accepting, and you know, I've met a lot of cool bikers. You know, like, you could be in a cool car and see another guy in a cool car and have like a cool little conversation at a stoplight. But anytime I've been at a stoplight and there's another biker, I'll always go right up to him. And that's the other thing too, is it's easier to beat him in traffic. So I can go up to a biker and just like ride up next to them easily at a stoplight. Whereas like with a car, you kind of got to get lucky. You can't exactly like you know, filter through the traffic at all to get up to another car and say what's up to them. You know, you kind of have to be on a bike to be able to filter and get up to that point. But yeah, the community is definitely a great aspect, and I'm gonna eventually start going up to some meets here here in town this next month. And I'll obviously end up making some videos and recording when I'm doing that. But yeah, like I said, the one exception to the community aspect is going to be the bagger Harley bros. Those guys can be a little much sometimes. Like, just as an example, there's one video, I'm going to put the guy's comment on the screen. I never responded to it. I think I just liked the comment. But when I made a video, it was titled like why I got a Harley or something. And, you know, I had the Sportster in the thumbnail, and obviously I talked about the Sportster because that's what I got. And this one guy commented on the video like, oh, thumbs down for the Sportster. And when I read that comment, I was just thinking, hell yeah, brother. You know, fuck them sissy bags. But, you know, that's the kind of toxic part of the community. Like, I really don't think that, you know, sport bikers, you know, like, you don't see a guy with a 1000cc, like a R1 or something. And he's like, oh, wow, thumbs down because you got an R3 and you're a learner. You know, you don't see that in the sport bike community. They're a lot more accepting, just generally speaking. But yeah, I thought that was just kind of funny. So yeah, comment of shame right there. Thumbs down for the Sportster. You, my friend, are what everybody in the bike community hates, except for people like you. And the reason I didn't respond to him is just because I don't know, it doesn't really bother me that much. I read the comment and just kind of laughed. Like, oh, you know, what a dick. Whatever. But yeah, that guy sucks. We don't accept that guy. He's in his own part of the community, and he can stay that way respectfully. But yeah, generally that kind of sums up my reasons there. You know, they're easier to maintain. There may not be less maintenance for the majority of bikes, but they are easier to maintain. 2 was going to be it's easy to find them low mileage, which means you can ride them for quite a while. 3 was the cost, I think, was number 3. 4 was they're fun, and number 5 was the community. So yeah, that's really my reasons. If you guys agree, disagree, let me know in the comments. Let me know how you guys feel. If you guys like the video, drop a like, subscribe. I got lots of videos like this, so please check out some other videos. I really appreciate it. But yeah, have a good one.